Hello, students. 1.2. On to the summit, we reached the top by Tenzing Norgay. See the lesson, page number 16. When we left Camp 9 on Friday morning, I was determined to get to the top on this day. That morning, I remember thinking I was to get to the top even if I die. I was not afraid to die that day. We set out early, and all the way from Camp 9 to the peak, we alternated. I would take the lead and then Hillary. The man who follows when climbing has a difficult job both in climbing up and climbing down. He is the anchor. The man going in the lead cuts the steps and breaks the way. In my pocket, I had 4 flags. When we were still at Camp 4, Colonel Hunt gave me 3 flags, those of Britain, the United Nations, and Nepal. He charged me with the duty of planting them on the top of the world. These 3 flags are in your care, he said. When you and Hillary reach the top, put them at the peak. I'm sure that you and Hillary are going to do it. I told Colonel Hunt that I was carrying the Indian flag with me and I would like to be on the top with the other flags. I had to ask Colonel Hunt's permission in his capacity as leader of the expedition. Indian flag. Colonel Hunt said, "By all means, I'm glad to know that you brought an Indian flag." After 1 hour of steady going, we cut across from the south face and started up the west side where we had to pass up a steep line of rocks. This was slow and difficult. Once we had cleared this, there was nothing barring our way to top but a snow-covered incline, sloping less and less as it neared the top. These last 60 or 70 feet up the top were not very dangerous, but we kept up the same steady pace. And we reached the small, flattened summit almost together. During the last 50 feet from the peak, Hillary and I were moving about 20 feet apart. We were tied together with a rope. Most of the time, the rope was loose, but when we went over dangerous ground, we drew it taut. This rope was a symbol. It tied us together. One could not move without the other. We were not two individuals, but a team. I have been asked many times who was first. When we were within reach of the summit, I did not think of who was going to be first. I'm sure that Hillary was not thinking that. Climbing takes all your attention. You have many more important worries. What does it matter whether I reach the top first or Hillary? Our main thought was that both of us reached the top. We had to. One couldn't do it alone. If there had been a difference of 1,000 feet between us, then one could make the claim that he was first. But even then, only the man behind him could confirm the distance between the two of them. When we reached Kathmandu, we discovered that a controversy had arisen. We talked it over, Hillary, Colonel Hunt, and I. We agreed that all the talk was childish. So we made a pact and each of us signed it in the office of the Prime Minister of Nepal. Each one signed his own statement. I have a copy of Hillary's statement which I carry in my pocket. It reads, Kathmandu, June 22, 1953. On May 29th, Tenzing Sherpa and I left our high camp on Mount Everest for our attempt on the summit. As we climbed upwards to the south summit, first one and then the other would take a turn at leading. We crossed over the south summit and moved along the summit ridge. We reached the summit almost together. We embraced each other, overjoyed at our success. Then I took photograph of Tenzing holding aloft the flags of Great Britain, Nepal, the United Nations, and India. Signed E. P. Hillary. There is another paper like this in English signed by me. Thus, we will not take part in any controversy. As the statement says, Hillary and I embraced when we reached the top. We did as well as our bulky equipment would let us. I remember saying to him, "We have done it." But we couldn't hear. We had our oxygen mask on. First thought. My first thought on reaching the top was a sense of gratitude to God that after having failed 6 times, He had blessed me with fulfillment of this desire I had held so long. I placed on the summit the offerings to God that I had carried with me. This is in accord with my religion. Both my wife and I are Buddhist. I could not kneel because of my clothes and equipment, but I offered a silent prayer in my heart. The offerings were biscuits, candy, and a little blue pencil. My youngest daughter, Nima, had given me the pencil before I left home. She asked me to put it on the top of the mountain as her offering. It was an ordinary blue pencil, not even a long one, but it was one of her prized possessions. As I put it down, I pointed it out to Hillary. He gave me a big smile, showing that he understood. Then I got out the flags, which I had on piece of string about 4 feet long. I fastened one end to my ice axe, and Hillary took pictures as I held it up. As I had to bring my ice axe down with me, I buried one end of the string in the ice on the top and other in snow on the slope down below. When we left, they were lying flat against the summit. I was very thirsty. I took out a water tumbler for a drink, but found the water in the metal container had frozen, so I couldn't quench my first thirst. I ate some biscuits and offered some to Hillary. I was wearing a red scarf with my great sorry, which my great friend Lambert, leader of the 1952 Swiss expedition, had given me last year. It was just a year ago, on May 28th, when we were standing at 28,215 feet, that he gave me the scarf. I wore it all the way up the mountain from Darjeeling. As I stood on the top, I remembered him and felt that he was with me. I felt absolutely fit at the summit. My mind was absolutely clear. I didn't feel tired, I felt exhilarated. It was a very clear sensation. Below, all the hills and mountains looked like gods and goddesses to me. The plains below looked like so many broken pieces of the map. 2 or 3 people could stand there on the roof of the world if you cut ice. 20 or 30 feet below the top, there was enough flat square for 2 people to sleep. You could pitch one tent there. The summit is flat on one side and steep on the other. There is snow on the northern side, rocks on the south and east, and snowy rocks on the west. We stayed on the top a little more than 15 minutes. We were lucky that there was no gale, or it would have swept us off. My next thought was how to get down safely. On the descent from the summit, I was walking behind Hillary. I was following him and holding the rope tightly, and my determination was to make sure he descended safely. I must say that the climb down was more difficult and dangerous than the climb up. If you slipped down, you would go to the Kangshang Glacier and there would be no trace left of you. More caution needed. Of course, it took less time climbing down, but you needed more husier caution. When I reached Camp 9, my first thought was, thank God we have been spared an accident, and if up to now there have been no accidents, I hope there will be none in future. I had always prayed to God and he had saved me. At Camp 9, Hillary and I were no mood for any talking. We just attended to our own things. We stayed there about half an hour. We boiled some snow to make lemon water and drank it. When we left, we took only our sleeping bags and left everything else behind in the tent. From Camp 9 to Camp 8, where we spent the night, was an easier job. Just above Camp 8, where the others could see us, I raised my arm with my thumb up. CWF, noisy, and WG, Louvre saw us and their faces flushed with joy. In this way, I was able to tell them of our success. As we got nearer to Camp 8, Louvre came to meet us and came up about 300 feet with tea and coffee. Another 50 feet down, we made noise, who brought us more tea. This tea smelled kerosene. Apparently, it had been made in hurry and somehow some kerosene got into the welcome cup. But I thought since the gentleman had taken so much trouble to bring it, I was going to enjoy it, whatever the smell. By Tenzing Norgay from Archives of TOI, that is Times of India. So this is our lesson, and in the next video I'm going to tell you the overall summary of the lesson. Okay, thank you.